Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley, and this is Knightline, episode number 99. One more till episode number 100. Brought to you by the Dever Team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to thedeverteam.com and call UCF alum Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. 386-690-1636.
And I'm Trace Trylko, leading off. Three numbers for you this week, Andrew. 4, 19, 1500, and also the word title. What does this mean? Men's basketball knocks off number 15th ranked Cincinnati. Thus the hoarse voice, by the way, from being out at the arena.
Yeah, me too.
The fourth time UCF has knocked off a top 25 ranked school. The number 19. Unbelievable that we're saying this. 19 wins for both men's and women's basketball. Oh, my goodness, as we get into the home stretch in the American Conference race. 1,500, that is what UCF got. Its 1,500 win in program history Friday with its win over Manhattan. And I mentioned the word title. UCF, again with another title. Congrats to track and field. They won the American Championship.
You know what that means? We could play this. I love to be able to play that because we don't get to play that enough, but we should play that more.
I agree with
That's all I have to say about that. But that's cool. Great job by those guys, or actually girls.
Ladies.
It was awesome. Just ahead, we have AJ Ramsa to break down hoops. Evan Abramson digs into our baseball report, and John Euliano stops by. Central Florida man who has opened his checkbook in a big way for UCF athletics. That and a lot more.
That and a lot more. This is a really big show. How about those UCF Knights Sunday knocking off number 15th ranked Cincinnati? What a game.
I am surprised my voice isn't worse than it actually is. It's a little rough, but man, what a game. I took my wife to the game for the first time. She'd never been. She's a UCF graduate. Thank you to Travis for hooking me up with some wonderful seats. Unbelievable game for her to have for her first one.
Yes, a very memorable 53-49 win over Cincinnati. The students stormed the court. Did you?
No,
storm the court? No,
I did not, but I took video of it, and it's on our YouTube page,
yeah.
If just a little bit of it. But, I said to her at halftime, I said, we're in this. We could win this game. I was kind of biting the nails a little bit there. It was a nail biter. It was a great game. That is the best way for basketball games to go, where it's just down to the last couple seconds. I hate when it's, there's a minute left or 2 minutes left or even the second half sometimes left, and there's no anticipation. You either got blown away or
the majority
or
of these games this season, even in the losses, have been tight, contested contests.
It's kind of like all those games with football, that 2013 season where it was just every single game came down to the last play or whatever. It's that feeling when you're a sports fan and you're there, especially watching, there's nothing like it.
Nearly 6,000 people packed the arena for that game Sunday. It seems lost in all of this is that UCF had a tremendous win at Temple just a couple of days earlier. All told now, 4 straight wins for the Knights, 10-7 in the American, 19-10 overall in Johnny Dawkins' first season. I said it here last week. A little bit more chatter about this on message boards.
Coach of the year.
I believe firmly that Johnny Dawkins should be Coach of the Year.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk about women's basketball, too. They're on a hot streak.
No question.
And Coach Abe should be Women's Coach of the Year. Yeah, I understand that UCF is not in first place. I get it. In the women's case, they're trailing UConn. UConn hasn't lost a game in years. I get it. You could give that Coach of the Year every year. But for what they have done, how they have turned things around.
With what he's done it with, and what she's done it with. They don't have a full recruiting class yet. They don't have any of this
the
stuff.
Same players, a year older certainly.
Unbelievable.
But there is no way, and no disrespect to Donnie Jones or Joy Williams, but there is no way a team that was 6-12 last year, 12 and I think 18 overall, another first-round exit in the conference tournament. You remember that was here in Orlando. Donnie hadn't shaken hands with the opposing coach when Danny White mentioned that he, might not be returning.
Well,
this is what a turnaround. Coach of the year.
Absolutely.
Johnny Dawkins.
This is one more thing that proves that Danny White has done miraculous things here already, and I can't wait to see what he does. We've just got, it's a different caliber of coaches, period. No, like we said, no offense to those other coaches, but they weren't on the same court as these guys. They were not. I'm sorry. These guys are true coaches, and they're proving it by the huge leaps that they've made.
Speaking of leaps, did your eye catch Coach Dawkins and the players on the bench jumping up and down in what looked like calisthenics to get the players on the court to recognize?
Yep.
Put your hands up.
Yeah.
Play defense.
Yeah.
And they play tight defense.
They do.
It was really a very exciting game. And what, if not the best performance, obviously, to knock off 15th ranked Cincinnati. Just a couple of weeks ago, they lost 60-50 on the road, and they didn't embarrass themselves in that game.
They haven't embarrassed themselves in most of the games this year.
There's a bad game at Houston one Sunday, and but they haven't matched up so well with UConn. But remember,
Villanova all the way back. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. All the way back to Villanova, they didn't get their butts just handed to them in that. It was a 10-point loss to the national champions the year before. Yes, they lost some people. Villanova did, but still, anytime you play a team like that and can hang with them, as they say.
As the kids say.
As the kids say. I didn't really want to say that. But if you can hang with a team like that, and it's just, you're almost there. What could it be next year? It could be amazing next year.
All right, calm down. Calm down with all that.
I'm just saying.
Calm down with all that. But a steady hand in all of this has been head coach Johnny Dawkins, who, was very happy about the win in the postgame.
What can I say? I mean, you're talking about just a defensive battle between both teams. I think you see why, both teams are ranked as high as they are defensively. And it was so hard to score against them, and, I felt the same thing. They probably felt the same thing. It was hard to score against us as well. And so you give our kids a lot of credit, for 40 minutes to battle in that type of game, under that type of, pressure defensively is to be commended, I think, for both teams. So hard for a win. I'm proud of our guys. And, it gives us an opportunity to keep on, competing. And that's what we want to do.
Let's dig deeper into the week that was for men's basketball. Of course, Sunday's signature win over number 15 Cincinnati. It seems like a long time ago, actually, when UCF won on the road at Temple. It's just a couple of days ago. Joining us now, former Knights point guard AJ Ramsa, return guest on Knightline, or as we like to call it, Sundays with AJ. AJ, we thank you for stopping by Knightline. Talk about this big victory over Cincinnati.
Man, that was incredible. Honestly, I'd be lying to you guys if I said my hands weren't sweating when I was watching it.
AJ, what do you think? Where does this rank in the top victories ever by UCF?
Top victories ever. That's a great question. I mean, obviously, I'm going to be a little selfish and always feel like, hey, we always had the top wins when I played. But, I mean, watching that team and watching them beat number 15, I mean, that's incredible. And you're able to do it at home. So, I mean, and I think it was senior night as well.
Yep.
That might be up there with that might be up there. I mean, that might be up there with the Florida win when I was there my junior year, or maybe the win against Miami in the it was a tournament we beat Miami in. I mean, that's up there though. That's a pretty big win.
B.J. Taylor, the star of the game on Sunday, he could almost do no wrong. Talk about his play and what you saw out on the court from him during the game against Cincinnati.
I love how confident he is. You need a point guard like that, especially, I mean, that was a big-time shot at the end, that three. He stepped back, and for him to create that much space and be able to make that shot, I mean, that's a big-time move. You could tell just as a point guard, they feed off him. As much as he goes, that's how they go. And I think that he's a great facilitator. he does very, very well with setting up his teammates. And I just think, honestly, that you want your point guard to have the ball in his hands at the end of the game, and that's exactly what he did today.
And he's just a sophomore, having battled back last season from injury. How much better can he become?
Oh, I mean, that's incredible. And I honestly forgot that he's only a sophomore, but I mean, this next year is going to be such a huge jump for him, mentally, physically. I mean, just because you grow so much. You got 2 years under your belt as a college basketball player. You understand the game now, the coaching. You now have a year under your belt from the new coaches. I mean, it's honestly, it's scary, the upside that he has. And I can't wait to be able to watch him continue to play this year, but also into the next year.
BJ's kind of a smaller guy as well as you were when you played. What's the difference, and what do you have to do differently because you're a smaller guy versus, playing with a bunch of, bigger guys? Not everybody's Taco Fall, obviously, but there's there's a lot of bigger guys out there. So obviously it's a little bit more difficult. Talk a little bit about that as far as BJ and you were concerned.
As me and BJ, I mean, they have him listed as like 6'2", so he makes me even look pretty small at 5'8". So for him though, as smaller guards, you have to be in better shape. You have to know everyone's position. You have to be a leader. You have to be willing to make decisions that aren't always going to be the cool decision with your teammates, and you also have to be kind of second coach out there. And I think that there's so many responsibilities as a point guard, and for him to be only a sophomore and to be able to, he just looks comfortable out there. He looks like he's comfortable running the show. He can hit big shots. He can penetrate. He can kick. There's so many different aspects that he brings. But as a point guard, and being that young, I mean, it's honestly it's incredible. It's incredible, and to honestly watch him, to be able to see him grow, will be just as great. On
a day in which 3 seniors were recognized on senior night, Matt Williams did not put on a big show in his finale at the arena for the home folks. What's it like to be on a team where you're reliant upon someone who can fire those threes and he's just having an off night? How do you pick each other up during the flow of a game?
Everyone has to do a little bit more. And I think that's the biggest thing is there's going to be shots when he's going to make 6 or 7 threes in a game, then there's going to be a time where he doesn't make any. And I think that you can't just rely on that one player to push you over the edge, I guess you could say. That's why it's a team sport. Just because Matt's not making his shots, you might need a couple more rebounds from Taco. You might need a big shot from BJ. You don't know where it's going to come from, but it might come off the bench. It might come from someone who played 5 minutes all year long. You don't know. It honestly, it's sometimes, and right now in this part of the year, it comes together at the right time. This is exactly what you want, but now you're just playing for the ultimate goal, and that's to win. For a team to be successful, in order to win, you're going to have to sacrifice, and that's what's going to happen. People are when he does have a bad game, people are going to have to sacrifice and step up or do what they're not used to doing.
Let's talk about Taco a little bit. Taco showed a little bit of poise this game and a little bit of toughness as far as, he got the elbow or a hand maybe to the face or whatever it was. He came over to the bench. They actually stopped the game because he was bleeding all over the place. What does that show from Taco? How have we seen Taco improve, and what does he need to improve on?
I think Taco, for me, it's as a basketball player, I can say, hey, he needs to be more aggressive. He needs to demand the ball more down low. He needs to go as soon as the ball comes off. He needs to be the first one at the rim. There's so many things, and for me, obviously, it's different because I'm not a big guy. I'm a small guard. I always got along with every single teammate, but I was always so much harder on the big guys. And it maybe is because I'm small, but I was just so much harder on them because I expected so much more. Because I'm thinking, listen, I'm 5'8", and this is what I'm doing. If you're this tall, and Taco, if you're 7'6", I expect this much more. And that's what happens. When you're a taller player, the people expect more out of you. And not saying that he's not living up to what he's doing. You can tell he's improving. He gets comfortable. And again, he's just as young. The game probably seems so much faster now than in high school, of course. And he's still adjusting. He's going to see where he's comfortable at. And I think that just now, you just have to play as hard as you can. You're going to make mistakes. You're not going to make every shot. You're not going to block every shot. But all right now, what you can't control is how hard you play. Every rebound, if you say, hey, I'm not going to have any points, every rebound that comes off the rim, I'm going to get it, you go get it. You do whatever you can to help, and you just continuously play as hard as you can every single game. And you just get better. Why? Because hard work pays off.
Thursday, the Knights close out the regular season, believe this or not. I mean, it really is hard to believe they'll be going for their 20th win. It's a rivalry game at Tampa against the Cows. I asked Coach Dawkins in the postgame about that, and we're going to share his comments later in the week as we preview that game. What's a rivalry game mean when you have a team like the Cows that are struggling? They've had a bad season. Can they get up for this kind of game? Can they put a dent in UCF's season, deny them a 20th win? And how do you adjust after a big win? For example, after that win over the Gators, how did your team at that time adjust to then playing its next opponent?
That game's over. As great as it is tonight, they had the whole crowd rush the court, and it was amazing. But after tonight, it's over. Tomorrow you come and you have to work towards this next game. I mean that's all it is. And there's going to be people. Of course, it's the last game. The biggest thing when I went with, obviously rivalry games are huge. I didn't realize how big it was until I got to UCF. When I was a freshman and when Coach Farrell was there and he sat us down, he put us in a meeting room, and this was my first time. I'm thinking, what's going on? I've never done this, or I've never seen this before, or whatever. And it was the game versus USF at home my freshman year that we did win, but I mean, they take it serious. For a rival game, I love it. I mean, it brings out the best. It brings out the best. If you like that type of environment, if you like the rough play, the trash talking, and I know respect the game and all that, but that's what rivalry is. I mean, it's not a rival unless there is a couple fights here and there, and there's some pushing and there's some arguing. I mean, that's a rivalry to me. And I think as a player, you love the game. Every single day, every single game you play, you love. But there's got to be something inside you that fuels you even more when you have that rivalry, just because it's different. There's a different. It's almost it's a playoff atmosphere, and especially for a last season game. I mean, you play even harder than you did versus Cincinnati. It doesn't matter if and that's the biggest thing. People have to realize it doesn't matter if they're ranked number 1, number 5. Every single team in college basketball can play. That game is done. They won that game versus Cincinnati. That's in the win column. Now we have to focus on USF. That's your next game. That's who you focus on.
As you watch this team, winners of 4 straight, do you sense that they're peaking and have momentum at the right time now heading into this conference tournament? Does it seem like they're really stringing together quality minutes throughout the game and not having those lapses that marked some of those losses when they were struggling in those tight games? Have they hit right at the right time and carrying the momentum into a conference tournament coming up?
This is when every single coach wants your team to peak. As soon as you're going into the end of the conference, you're going to the conference tournament. I mean, for them to be able to play this well, and now they're playing they're going through spurts of not, like you said, where they're not scoring and they're playing well. And now there's a couple there's a couple turnovers where you fix, and that game, that game that we won by 2 or 3 points, you win that game by 15, 16 with those little mistakes. So now going into the end of the season, all you're doing is fine-tuning everything. All the plays are already in. You've seen all the teams that you've seen in the conference. I mean, you know all their star players. You know what they like to do. You know their deficiencies. You know everything. At this point, now you're just fine-tuning. And for them to be playing as a team, as a unit, and peaking at this time, I mean, this is huge. This is exactly where you want to be for them.
Johnny Dawkins does a lot of little things that make big, big differences in the coaching.
I love that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
I love that you...
Yeah, it's fine, but he calls timeouts at the correct time. He has the players, hold on to the ball for a long period of time, sometimes to run the clock down. It's things that it doesn't seem like Donnie Jones really did a lot of the time. It's not as obvious, maybe, and I don't know if it's obvious to the average fan, but it's obvious, when you're watching it and you're looking for little things like that. How big of a deal is it for a coach to be like that, though, and to be able to do those little things and to coach those little things?
And like you said, it's the little things, but those are usually the biggest. And I notice those more than most people, just because I like to look at the little things. And you know what? Because the little things make up the biggest picture. And I think that those two coaches, I can't say, oh, this person does this more, or this person does less. Both of them are different coaches. And I never played for Coach Dawkins, but I would never say, oh, this person or Coach Jones didn't do this as well as he did. Just because Coach Jones did it a different way, I think that is where you come in. But the small things, as Coach Dawkins, I mean, he trusts his players, but I think as a basketball player and as someone that loves to have freedom, he lets them play. And he lets them enjoy themselves, and he lets them comfortably make decisions. He's not a coach that's going to sit there and scream at you if you take a bad shot. He's saying, hey, let's just play basketball. Get back and play defense. When BJ hit that shot, they call the timeout. And like I said, you notice the small things. Most coaches in that situation, they're talking to the other coaches. They're trying to huddle. They're getting the team situated, what they're going to do next. He gave them 5. As a player, you're at an all-time high right now. You just hit a big shot, but now you know your coach, who is someone that you obviously have a great relationship, but it's also your boss. People don't realize it. That's your boss. And as a player, when you feel like, hey, your boss is saying, hey, that's a great, you just killed it. That's a great job. Give me 5. And you can see it. I mean, that changes a lot about a game. That changes not even about a game, though. It changes a lot about a team. And it changes a lot about how BJ, I think, will play now. And I could be totally wrong, but I'm just saying his confidence, when that happens, it puts you in a different level. And because it's hard to reach that level, I've been there in college basketball, but when you have a relationship with your coach and you're still growing, but he's able to trust you, he's able to put the ball in your hands to know, hey, make this play, because now, like I said, it's a job. You're making him look good, and it's a great blend, and it's honestly, it's a thing that it's hard to explain. But I feel like it's there.
I don't want people to get me wrong there with that question, and I don't want you to get me wrong. I was not trying to bait you into saying something bad about Donnie Jones, but I know that people are comparing, especially this year, that people are comparing what we've seen here in the last, 10 years or 9 years that Donnie Jones was here? 7 years, 8 years?
And
so that's what was going on there.
No, and that's I know you weren't asking that, and people are always going to compare. But say people, and this is a great thing. People say, "Oh man, I see Coach Dawkins. He's up and down the sidelines, and he's talking to the players, this and that. He's into the game." Coach Jones, now I would say, he's not like that. He's not going to be one that is sitting there. He's very calm. He's very collective. But he's one of the most motivational people that she'll meet, and people don't know that about him. Like, wait, really? He seems kind of quiet, this and that. Behind closed doors, when he's in there as a team, he is one of the most motivational people you'll meet. So that's what I was saying with the whole, there's different coaching, and that's why I kind of meant there's different coaching styles.
Right.
And there's people are saying, oh, well, how come, he's doing this right now. Listen, winning covers up everything. And what I'm saying is Coach Dawkins, is he a better coach than Coach Jones? I don't know. Everyone's going to have their own different things, but what I'm saying is when you win, it takes over everything. And I guarantee you it's just like anything. Now if they lose a couple games, this and that, oh, well, see, he's just like Coach Jones. That's the problem with coach, or that's the problem with players and coaching, and they have it against media and this and that, because it's like anything. They take it the wrong way or take it this. It's not that. It's just, it is what it is, and I knew you weren't meaning that at all.
Yeah, and every coach has a different style of
exactly.
coaching, and where Dawkins came from and where Donnie Jones came from are very different things. So
exactly.
That's all I'm saying. I was not,
No,
people know
I
that.
agree with you. Trust me.
People know, because I've said it before, that I really liked Donnie Jones as a person. I just wasn't happy with where the basketball team was going, and I think that was obviously, UCF's opinion as well. So not that he is. I'm not saying at all that he's a bad guy, because I know that he's not. So
no, I agree, and it's like anything. It's like the same thing when he came in, and now he's like, oh my gosh, he's the best. Coach Sproul didn't do anything. And then when we started losing, oh well, Coach, he's not doing anything. It's just like anything. Winning covers up a lot, but these coaches are college coaches. They both got there because they worked so hard, and both extremely respectable. But you can't take away what Coach Dawkins is doing right now. For us to even take it away or say, oh, it's the first. No, I mean, what he's doing with these guys in his first year. I mean, this is incredible.
Yeah.
This is something that we have to talk about.
Yeah, he's done a lot with a little. So anyway, AJ, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate you coming on here. I've got nothing but great comments about you being on here with us. They love you.
That means the world to me.
Of course, absolutely. We'll of course have you hopefully back next week to talk. And
please,
absolutely, Sundays with AJ. And one of these days we will get back. After basketball is done, we will get back talking about all the rest of the stuff that you're doing as well, because that's exciting for all of us. So.
Please, yeah, I will definitely get there, but as of now, let's just continue to talk about basketball. I love it, especially UCF.
Awesome.
And I appreciate you guys having me on the show, and whatever you guys need from me, I mean, I'd love to give my insight and whatever else.
Absolutely. All right, we will talk to you next week.
Thank you guys so much. Tell everybody in Orlando I miss them, and hopefully I'll be down there soon.
All right, UCF hits the road Thursday, March 2nd, heading over to Tampa to play the West Central Florida Cows with War on I-4 rivalry points up for grabs. First tip is at 7 p.m.
Busy time in the American. We're in crunch time now.
Absolutely.
UCF will get the most headlines for its Sunday win over Cincinnati, but Houston defeated Memphis 72-71 at Memphis. And the standings are very interesting now. It would appear, with SMU at 15-1, and they have already defeated Cincinnati, Cincinnati falls to 14-2. It does not look like, with 2 games left, that SMU is going to collapse in such a way that Cincinnati can pass them. So I think you're looking at your 1 and 2 seeds there. 3, Houston at 11-5. UCF at 4 at 10-7. So UCF's played 1 more game than Houston. It's going to be tough for UCF to get into that 3rd spot. Number 5, UConn at 9-7. Then you go, Memphis is 6th at 8-8. Tulsa is 7th at 8-8. What does that mean? They can't really catch UCF, can they? I mean, I guess if they win out, they'd both be 10-8, and UCF would perhaps lose in its game at Tampa on Thursday. That they could all wind up there at 10-8, and then all those tiebreakers kick in. But it would seem like UCF is in a good position for one of those top 5 spots and that first-round bye in the American Conference Tournament. This
victory today obviously made a big difference in that. This tournament's going to be a heck of a tournament. There's a lot more competitiveness in basketball in the American this year. I think it's turning out to, be a good basketball conference, obviously, and a football conference and everything else. It's turning out good. It's going to be an exciting tournament.
I think you're right about that. UCF has not matched up particularly well with UConn and has lost both of those games, but has been competitive across the rest of the league. What will be interesting, of course, to see is what this means for additional postseason beyond the conference tournament. SMU and Cincinnati, if you expect that one of them wins, both of them probably go to the NCAA tournament. That's not to say somebody else can't win this league, because there are other schools that can win the league, and that would get another team into the NCAA tournament. But I think UCF punched a ticket to the NIT.
Yeah, well, if we can, for some reason, somehow could win the American tournament, it would be absolutely awesome, because they would get that automatic bid into the NCAA tournament. Wouldn't that be crazy?
That would cap off just what has been an amazing year. Taking a look, by the way, I always just mention the teams contending in those standings. The Cows are last, 1-15 in the league, 7-20 overall. Of course, that makes them a dangerous opponent, but I loved the headlines that they generated. Can I read a couple of them to you real quick? 2 USF Hoops players left at airport, mom calls program terrible. That's the Sporting News. This is WFLA out of Tampa. USF basketball player's mother goes on Twitter rant after team leaves son at the airport.
That's crazy. I mean, that has to, there's somebody that's their job.
If you haven't heard
this, somebody's job.
They don't have to count 53 college football players or however many are on a traveling squad. Yeah. Geno Thorpe and Troy Holston Jr. were stranded in Houston after missing the team's connecting flight home following a road loss to Tulsa. Sporting News reported Saturday the players fell asleep while waiting for the second flight of the evening. By the time they woke up, the coaching staff realized they were missing. Too late to stop the plane from leaving.
That is somebody's job, I guarantee it.
They left 2 of their players at the airport.
Yeah. I wonder if that person still has a job there, because I guarantee you that's somebody's job, to go around, count heads. Hey, guys, come on. It's just, that's a job.
Holston's mother didn't mince words after the incident. She spoke out to the Tampa Bay Times. It's very disappointing, and it's a reflection on how terrible a program the men's basketball program is, she said.
That's awesome. I love it.
I
love
sorry.
it.
Yeah, this is a year in which their head coach was fired, and so UCF has an opportunity to win over there in Tampa, pick up win number 20. Let's go back real quick to senior night. First of all, Dr. Hitt recognized for 25 years of service to the university, and when you think about all of the things that he's done, and for me, going to school there, I was there when he came on board, and still there in Medical City, downtown campus, on campus football stadium, and just the list goes on and on and on. We said goodbye in person, perhaps to three seniors. Matt Williams did have a very good game. Tank Effiani, Nick Banyard. Little aside, I sat during the game with Eric Lopez of the Black and Gold Banneret, amongst the other many things that Eric Lopez does. Calling UCF softball, of course, is one of those things. And he was quite amused by sitting at the game with me, because my group, we play the game within the game. We've been doing this for a number of years with dinner on the line. And in this particular, when you pick the players that are going to score the most, and if your guy scores the most, you get 5 points. Next guy gets 3, 2, and 1. And if your guy scores nothing, you get a 0. So first, second, third, and fourth separated by 4.5 points. Okay? The last place, I'm in first at this point. Last place guy has B.J. Taylor. If B.J. Taylor is the high scorer, he gets 5 points. All I need is Nick Banyard to get 1 point. I don't care how he gets the 1 point, okay? I pick Nick Banyard. If I get 1, it doesn't matter what the first place guy does. He's going to lose to me. So, first half, Nick Banyard, no points. No points. I'm losing my mind, because I could have picked A.J. Davis.
Right.
But Nick has been hot, and it's senior day. And I thought, he's just going to continue his hot streak. And then the second half, minute 19, 18, Eric Lopez was just rolling. He could not believe how much fun this was, watching me in agony. And if we could get points for assists, and we're talking about it, people around us are starting to pay attention. I was happier when Nick finally, about the 11-minute mark in the second half, I was happier than his family was for him. I was jumping up and down because there was a steak dinner on the line, and I'm champs.
It sounds like a fun game, and you've explained it to me a bunch of times, and I wasn't able to grasp, but now I grasp it a little bit more because you just explained it. Who came up with that?
I came up with it just sitting with a friend of mine many years ago at basketball. We would just each pick who do you think's going to be the high scorer. You get a couple of points, and we started doing it back and forth, and then we added 2 other people, so we got a league of 4, and first place gets dinner. Another group of friends of mine started doing this over in the other section, and they got 5 in their group. So we've got 2 groups doing this.
Maybe
it is so much fun.
For
folks listening, we do it at the home games. If you each pick a guy, your guy, high score, you get 5. Next one, 3, 2, 1. And then you keep reversing order based on the standings. If you score nothing, you get a 0. Yeah, and if your two players tie, they split the points. So that's why you could have a 0.5 in your standings.
Do you do this with football as well?
No, not football, but kicking off next week for Orlando City, the group I go to, we do the match within the match. So if your guy scores a goal, we pick 2 players. Your guy scores a goal, you get 3. You get an assist, you get 1, and there's dinner on the line for that.
Maybe you can put that on the line or something and have
it keeps you interested throughout the game. A free throw with 37 seconds left to go could tip the whole balance of the game in that particular. I mean, it's exciting.
Maybe on our website we can do a game within the game explanation, and you never know. You could be credited with making everything more fun for everyone, even if the team is on the wrong side of the W.
This year, it's both been fun to play the game within the game and to watch the game on the court. And there's sometimes you're losing your mind because it's like fantasy football where you're rooting for one guy and nobody quite understands why are you just rooting for this one guy. People lose their we'll be winning by a lot or losing by a lot or whatever, and we're going crazy over the way our game changed on a free throw late. People are like, why are they cheering this free throw? Why is this other guy getting so upset because of a free throw in a 19-point lead or something like that? Because it all matters.
That makes it fun.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Good, clean fun for the entire family.
Well, there is new basketball pricing information out. This one I'm kind of happy with.
Breaking news. You're happy about ticket prices.
I know. This one's good. Athletic Director Danny White announced this week no price increase for men's basketball season tickets for the 2017-18 season. Good news for a ticket base that nearly overlaps fully with the football season ticket base, one already experiencing a great deal of in-stadium changes for upcoming football season. Absolutely, and that's good. My wife really loved the basketball game, so now she's, interested in some basketball tickets, so that's good. Maybe we can afford it. I don't know.
I think they recognized they couldn't raise prices in the various sections the way they did in football and then also do that in basketball. I mean, attendance, despite the great season, has just been languishing.
And I was thinking about this. Everybody knows I went to Kansas, and
Yes, you've mentioned this a time or three.
Well, Kansas, as you know, speaking of basketball, it's a basketball school. The football team, really, they could care less about most of the time. And Kansas, they were the Big 12 champion for 13 years in a row this year. 13 years in a row. And you look at schools like that, and of course, Allen Fieldhouse, where they play, is a shrine of basketball, and it's just the environment there is insane. People, they camp out for days sometimes to get tickets for those games. Students, normal people, literally camp out on the side of the building in line. And I wish that UCF's at some point, and I just really hope that environment would come to UCF and the fans would be like that, because I've been in that building, and it's electric to be in that building. And I know that that's a very deep tradition school with basketball and all that stuff, but doesn't mean that it can't happen here as well. And I think we're on the way to that at some point. It's not a huge arena to fill up.
10,000.
10,000. I mean, Kansas Arena, 16,000. It's not that much bigger. 6,000 more people. But still, if you could, the environment in basketball, I think, matters even more.
Momentum
than
shifts
football.
on
It's
the crowd.
It's a building. I mean, there were times today in the game where it was very exciting and the crowd was really into it, and it just would be awesome if it was full. And that could happen as well. So,
and with Danny White's interest in having played the game of basketball, he wants to see this basketball program grow. And I think Coach of the Year, Johnny Dawkins,
it could happen.
Going to help.
It could
get
happen
it there.
And I think it will.
I think this is a little bit more buzz. It's going to take them a while.
They haven't had the time, even over the years that they've been playing Division I basketball. The time hasn't.
You just said Kansas has won the title in their league 13 straight years. Think about if UCF did that.
That'd be awesome. That'd
right?
be awesome. I mean, the place would be, they'd have to put a third level on. They'd have to raise the roof on the place.
Raise the roof.
Well, yeah. They would, though. They would have to make the building bigger or build a new one. Anyway.
Well, kudos to women's basketball. The Knights destroyed SMU Saturday. How about this score? 63-37. That followed an impressive 56-51 win at Tulane. All told, 6 straight wins for UCF. Now 9-6 in the American, 19-9 overall. Another senior night. Saying goodbye to some UCF players. They say goodbye to Zakira Lewis and Jocelyn Massey. Top 25 ranked Temple comes to town for the regular season finale. UCF then heads to Connecticut for the American Conference tourney. That begins Friday, March 3. So in the week ahead is going to be this conference tournament. I know everybody's chasing UConn. They will lose at some point.
Yeah.
And UConn's head coach, Gino Ariamo, said that perhaps one of the best games they played all year was against UCF earlier this year.
And you never
UCF's
know.
peaking.
People need to go and support those girls, too. Not only men's basketball needs to be supported, but people need to go out and support the girls when they play as well, because that's good basketball as well.
Aaliyah Gregory named the American Women Basketball Player of the Week. And again, I'm saying it right here, right now, Coach Abe, Coach of the Year, period.
Absolutely. They should be.
And I know it may not go that way, but to me, to go from 7 wins to 19 and possibly a 20th, and they've got some momentum. Going into that conference tournament.
Absolutely. Congratulations to the track and field indoor American championship. They got that this week. That's amazing. That's awesome. One more sport at the school that is winning championships. That's important. That's what Danny White wants. He wants us to be a top 25 institution in every sport. This one's important too, track and field. Absolutely awesome. Redshirt senior Anne-Marie Blaney was named the most outstanding track performer. Senior Janae Bellamy, who I know personally, awesome girl.
Name dropper.
Well,
Drop.
she defended her 60-meter dash title, so 2 times in a row American champion.
Impressive.
She's just a wonderful girl, and I told her that I would talk about her even
Shut
if
up.
she didn't. But anyway. Janae Whitaker won the 60-meter hurdles as well. UCF also beat the Cows for 3 more points in the War on I-4 rivalry. UCF leads that 27-15.
With an opportunity to pick up 3 more points for men's basketball this week. And by the way, I'm continuing to read about these players left behind at the airport. I've got the Twitter feed up of Troy Holston's mom. When you think it can't get any worse, they leave your son behind sleeping at the airport gate. Is there any other way to say you're not important?
Wow.
This is one upset mama.
It's probably a player that will...
I feel bad for her, and obviously I don't want no harm to come to any of the kids, and they're fine and all that, but...
Probably a player that will want to transfer after this season.
Yeah, man.
Maybe not.
Big dollars flowing into UCF this week. Baseball sets a historic milestone. Stay right there.
Hey, Night fans, this is Jeff Sharon.
And this is Eric Lopez.
And when you're not listening to Andrew and Trace with the Knightline podcast, make sure you listen to our show, the Black and Gold Banneret podcast.
Jeff and I come at you every week to keep you updated on all UCF sports, from football and basketball to volleyball and softball.
And we'll also have special guests, including coaches and former players from across the UCF sports spectrum.
We'll dive into all the latest news and stories, and we'll get you ready for the upcoming week in UCF sports.
Subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and TuneIn Radio.
And follow us on Twitter at UCF_Banneret and at blackandgoldbanneret.com, where we also post some pretty cool features you'll want to read.
It's the Black and Gold Banneret podcast with me, Jeff Sharon.
And me, Eric Lopez.
Part of blackandgoldbanneret.com.
And now back to Knightline Podcast with our buddies Andrew and Trace.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Eric. And thank you to UCF alum Mr. Ken Dixon for making the single biggest donation in UCF athletics history. How about that? $5 million.
That's awesome.
It's actually listed as something like $5,100,000.
Yeah.
It was some sort of odd amount. The donation will be used for several things over a 10-year period of time. Dixon's name will adorn a proposed athletics village that encompasses football, basketball, and baseball venues. You're already going to find Dixon's name on UCF School of Accounting after he made a $2.5 million donation in 2004.
He was recognized at the basketball game.
Big applause.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And again, and we were talking about this at lunch before the basketball game, if you're going to judge Danny White in his first year and a half on the job, you look at a couple of things, right? The continued academic success of the athletics program, the hires and the success of those hires, and bringing in dollars. And I know that's not Danny White alone, and there are other people that assist in that.
But that's one of Danny White's big things.
We get criticized. You get criticized. We get criticized for being critical. It's our opinion of what we think about football ticket pricing. But credit is due where credit is due, and they have done a great job of bringing in these dollars, and they are needed.
Absolutely.
So one of those people that has stepped up, and really stepped up several months ago, big friend now of UCF baseball, is John Euliano, and you had an opportunity to talk with him and get some of his perspective on why he wants to open his checkbook to UCF.
The 2017 baseball season is underway, and a name you may be hearing a lot of isn't one of the Knights on the mound or stepping into the batter's box. To say John Euliano is a big fan of the program would be an understatement. John committed $1.5 million towards the expansion and renovation of the UCF baseball complex, and he's stopping by Knightline to share more about his love for baseball and the Knights. John, tell us more about you. You've become such a big UCF supporter.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. It's simple. I've lived in Orlando for 40 years now, so I've watched UCF grow. I didn't attend UCF, but both of my kids did. My son graduated last year. My daughter's in her third year at UCF, so I've had a chance to get to know the program and get to know the school. Like I said, I've watched it grow. I've been in Orlando since the 70s, and for those of us that have been here since then, we all know what UCF looked like then, and we know what it looks like now, and it's been an incredible growth story. And so over the last few years, I've had a chance to get to know the people in the athletic department. Baseball and athletics in general has always been a passion of mine, and so I got hooked up with them through my role on the UCF Foundation, and it's just started from there. It started simply as being a parent of a child that went to school at UCF, and it grew from there.
Well, tell us a little bit more about your role with the UCF Foundation as well.
Currently, I'm the co-chair of the UCF Foundation. I've been on the foundation board for several years now, and it kind of got me inside the UCF behind-the-scenes workings and made me a lot of contacts, especially with the athletics department. So that's my role. As you know, UCF Foundation Chief's role is fundraising for the university, both academic and athletic, and any other way that they need to raise funds. So it's given me a good look inside the program from all different levels, and I like what I see.
So why now? What is it about UCF athletics at this time that led you to open your wallet in such a big way?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. I was attending football games, and I was talking to the people in the athletic department, and one day I just said to one of the guys there, I said, baseball's always been my favorite sport. And they said, really? And so it started simple. It started from there. They started showing me around the UCF baseball program a little more than they had in the past. And I saw some things that were somewhat disturbing, as most UCF baseball fans probably know, which is our facilities were probably not up to par with regard to other schools in the American Conference. So, I got a chance to take a look at the other American Athletic Conference facilities, and some of them are extremely nice. I went to the UCF Tulane football game last year that was actually in New Orleans, and their baseball stadium is right next to their football stadium, and it was a beautiful stadium. So that's where the discussion started. We started a simple discussion on how we can get UCF baseball to the next level, and here we are.
Bring us up to speed on the scope of the project and what all is planned.
The scope of the project right now is a $3.2 million expansion, and that's going to mostly cover the addition of club seats. That'll be an indoor-outdoor area similar to the Roth Tower club seats in football. You'll have an area under air conditioning where they'll be serving food and drink, private bathrooms and, facilities, and that'll be right above where the press box is. And so there'll be 300 club seats there. They will be selling alcohol in those club seats, which is always a bonus. And the rest of the money is going to some improvements around the rest of the park, notably the front entrance. I think they're going to make some changes there. There's been some talk about improving the outfield fence line so that there's more of a 360 view around the baseball park. Unfortunately, the first ask doesn't include a new scoreboard, so we are having some talks behind the scenes on that, because anybody that's been to a baseball game knows that that's probably in need of some upgrades. But it takes money, and they're raising funds as fast as they can. But as you know, there's never enough. Yeah,
absolutely. I was hoping maybe they would possibly be able to use some of that old scoreboard from the football stadium and put it over there in the baseball stadium. That would have been nice if they could have done that or something. I don't know. It definitely...
That was actually discussed. We talked about that, and we talked about that a lot. And I think at the end of the day, because they were, at one point we were like, okay, well, we'll take the old football scoreboard and put it on the baseball field, and we'll take the old baseball scoreboard and put it on the softball field or something like that. But I think at the end of the day, that was going to cost a lot of money and a lot of trouble, and we were still going to be shifting around old scoreboards. And so I think the plan for the future is to have new scoreboards, and it's just a matter of it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Like I said, it's all going to depend on fundraising, because the scoreboard is not the only thing. We would also like to renovate the clubhouse. We'd like to get the players a new locker room. There's many more needs around that ballpark, and so the hopes is my donation kicks it off, but we certainly don't end there. We expect this to be a first-class facility and in the upper echelon of college baseball, within a few years.
You mentioned your relationship with Danny White a little bit and being able to talk with him. And what do you think of the job that he's done? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but he's done amazing things in the short time that he's been here. You can see with football, you can see especially with basketball this year and the coaches that he has hired, and now baseball as well, off to a 4-0 start. How big of an impact has it been to have a guy like Danny White with such a vision here at UCF?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. He's got such a passion for what he's doing. He's committed to making UCF a powerhouse. He tells me that all the time. The things that he's done in a short period of time are just amazing. He's got ideas coming out of his head all the time that you just think, holy cow, he is a big dreamer. And he's got a lot of great ideas, and if you talk to him for 10 or 15 minutes, you start to get really excited about the UCF athletic program in the future. But just the things that he's actually done already with the football team and the excitement behind that, and Johnny Dawkins and Coach Abe and women's basketball and how much they've improved. And the baseball program's got so much excitement behind it. The tennis program is doing great. It just seems like everything's coming together and fundraising is coming together, and he has done an amazing job in a very short period of time. So really excited about the future with Danny White at the helm.
All right. Speaking of the future, what are your hopes for the UCF baseball program?
Well, the ultimate dream is that we want to go to Omaha, but Coach Lovelady says trust the process. So they've got good players. We didn't lose too many players from last year's team, and we got some guys back that were injured. So trying to have guarded expectations for this year, but I've got a good feeling that they're going to be pretty good this year. But in the future, we would really like to not just be in a regional, but we'd like to host a regional. As you know, UCF has been in regionals before, but what happens is you end up going to Gainesville or Tallahassee or Coral Gables, and you're a lower seed and end up having to go through Miami, Florida State, and Florida to get to the Super Regional or get to the World Series. So I think the short and midterm goal is to start hosting regionals at UCF. And obviously the long-term goal is to get to that College World Series.
Absolutely. Hey, besides the Knights, do you have a favorite Major League Baseball team?
I always liked the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I have no reason to have liked them because I grew up in Pennsylvania and Florida. But when I was a kid, I was a Dodger fan. I just liked the way they play. I liked Tommy Lasorda, Steve Garvey, Ron Say, all those guys, and had all their baseball cards and had all my Dodger stuff. So I've always been a Dodger fan, and so that's my team. And, I get a chance to see the Tampa Bay Rays more, obviously, because of location, but the Dodgers have always been my team.
Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your commitment to the Knights. It's going to make it better for all of us, and we really, really appreciate that.
No problem. Let's get some support going and raise some money and take UCF baseball to the top.
There are so many ways to connect with Knightline. You can like us on Facebook at Knightline Podcast or follow us on Twitter at UCF_Knightline. Check out our website at www.ucfnightlinepodcast.com for recruit spotlights, archived episodes, and more. Or, of course, you can always call us at 407-401-9184. That's 407-401-9184. Listen whenever and wherever you are on YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, or tune in. Go Knights and charge on!
All right, one more time I want to say thank you to the Dever team for bringing UCF Knightline to you. They are helping us out tremendously, and we really appreciate that. Go to thedeverteam.com, and Travis will help you out with all your real estate needs in New Smyrna.
Talking baseball now, Greg Lovelady era now off to a 7-0 start. Knights swept Manhattan and North Florida this week. That was a midweek game, just one game. Strong starts and wins for Friday hurler Robbie Howell. Saturday starter Juan Pimentel. And Jason Barr is settling into his role as the Sunday starter. The redshirt junior struck out 9, gave up just 1 run on 2 hits as UCF won the Sunday game 7-2 over Manhattan. Stepping into the batter's box to talk UCF baseball with us, our man, Evan Abramson, sports editor of the Central Florida Focus. Evan, when we spoke with you a week ago, we said, should we expect the Knights to be 7-0 after the next 4 games? And they deliver. They go 7-0. What are some of your observations of the victory midweek over North Florida and the weekend sweep of Manhattan?
Well, UCF continues to impress, and I think, as I've said in the last show, UNF was going to be one of those first real tests for UCF, especially moving on as we're now approaching number 2, UF. And UCF did their job and took care of UNF. And they showed off their pitching and the fact that they can go beyond just Robbie Howell and Juan Pimento. And Jason Barr clearly today had a great start, went 5 1/3 innings, had 9 strikeouts, tying the season high for the team, which is Robbie Howell in that opening night. So they're showing that they have more than just these 1-2 guys, and they have a lot of options. And we've stressed over and over again that they have a lot of depth, not only in the bullpen, but also seeing today in the past couple games, Luke Hamlin being moved up to that number 2 spot, showing that as a guy who's hitting well and leading the team along with Eli Putnam in terms of being that solid bat, he was able to move up past just the number 8 spot and go up into the number 2, which really helped the Knights out, gave him a good bat behind Eli Putnam, so when he would get on base, or if not, Luke Hamlin could kind of serve as that leadoff hitter in a sense. And they still had enough guys in the back of the lineup. Logan Heiser, you had Matthew Micah, Brendan Bozeman, Cam Gellinger, even Bryce Peterson, who had that big grand slam to put the Knights up in Saturday's win. It really just shows the depth of the lineup, and that, as the UCF players are saying, there's not one guy in their lineup 1 through 9 who they say cannot hit the ball. They're saying everyone in that lineup has the power to be a big clutch hitter for the team, and they're showing it over and over again here.
And let's talk about the pitching, and in particular another 1-2 punch there with Robbie Howell and Juan Pimentel. And also talk a little bit more about Jason Barr's performance Sunday. He gave him 4 strong innings a week ago. This was a much better outing. He went deeper, and I texted you at the point in which Coach Lovelady pulled him out of the game. I thought he deserved a better fate in getting a decision in this game. Talk about the 3 starters and what we saw in this weekend's sweep of Manhattan.
So obviously Jason Barr, as I just said, he had a fantastic performance today. He really, as Coach Lovelady and everyone said, just learned to better control the fastball, and he really commanded the strike zone. He had 9 strikeouts, as I said, only allowed 2 walks, 1 run, gave up 2 hits. He faced 19 batters. So, I mean, he really just had a great performance all around, and it just gets to the point where he threw 76 pitches, had a 2.89 ERA, and it gets to that point where Coach Lovelady is thinking, all right, well, he's around his pitch count cap, so we got to bring him out, let the bullpen do the rest of the work. So looking at these numbers, you really can't be disappointed with Jason Barr. And if you're going to say, all right, we're going to see these kind of numbers every single time from Jason Barr, you know what? I mean, I'm happy with him as the number 3 pitcher, and even a guy like Chris Williams behind him showing off some good stuff, helping out the rotation.
You mentioned earlier that Florida is coming up, and they're ranked number 2. What is the difference? What is the real difference between a team that is ranked, that isn't ranked like UCF, and a team that's number 2, and how do you go and beat a team like that?
Well, obviously, everyone, or a lot of people know that UF, one of the big reasons that they have a loss this year, they're 6-1, and that one loss came to Jacksonville, who UCF will actually, if I'm correctly, playing later in this year. And it's just baseball is a game of anything can happen, and I think that UCF is all, they keep on making these great performances, and they keep on utilizing every member of their lineup throughout the year, and they come into UF not willing to make silly mistakes that are not part of baseball fundamentals, and if they go in and they play the way that they've been playing the past 7 games, which is why they're 7-0, I think they have a decent chance of beating UF. I mean, you look at UF, and the reason they're ranked number 1 is because they're a great baseball team, and they have been for several years, and UF is just one of those teams that you look into and you have 2 options. You're either going to get intimidated or you're going to go and try and play and look at them as just another team. And I think the second option, the latter, is how Coach Lovelady is looking at it, and I think the players are buying into that, which is going to help their mentality when they travel to the Swamp, and then the Swamp comes to us.
When you joined us for the preseason look at the Knights, we felt pretty good about Robbie Howell and Juan Pimentel, and we weren't quite sure what we were going to see from Jason Barr, and now we've seen 2 decent starts. A week ago, we weren't sure what we were going to see out of Chris Williams in the first midweek game, and he went 4 innings, 5 hits, an earned run. What's your sense of his performance? How important is he then with 2 midweek games back-to-back with the Gators?
Well, I'll tell you, I've discussed this a lot with a lot of people, whether it's in the press box or on the field after games or before games, and the importance of Chris Williams is that because Robbie Howell and Juan Pimento often are going to go that back-to-back start, and you have these midweek games where often you're playing a couple times a week like we've seen. It's important to get your number 3 and 4 guys out there because most teams, if they don't have that set rotation of past 1 or 2 guys, they're going to have to start going in by committee and just do, let's say, pitcher A is going to get 2 innings out of the bullpen to start off the game. Pitcher B is going to get 2 innings. And you're going to, at some points, even run into issues where you're going to start hurting your pitchers because they're over-pitching them. And I think that's where Jason Barr and Chris Williams come into play. They're two pitchers who are filling the void kind of for UCF and are showing that they're able to really contribute. Not you don't really know yet if they're the same level as Robbie Howell or Juan Pimento, but they're certainly showing off that they are looking like it. I mean, especially after his performance by Jason Barr, I just can't stress enough how much of a great performance he had today. I mean, it looked like he was just completely dominating the Jaspers here on this beautiful Sunday afternoon.
Well, UCF so far has owned teams from New York, sweeping Siena and Manhattan. Once they get past, and that's no easy task, these two tough games midweek with the Gators home and away and home, Stony Brook comes to town. The Seawolves, they have been a thorn in UCF's side through the years. What do you expect from that weekend series? A continuation then of what we've seen in the previous two weekend series with the strong pitching and timely hitting on the part of the Knights?
It all depends on the mentality that UCF goes into UF with and comes out of. For all we know, UCF could go into UF and really dominate and surprise a lot of people and really put up a great fight, and I'm expecting them to do so. I don't know if they're going to win or not, but I think they'll definitely put up a good fight as some in the years past. But it all depends on how they really perform against Stony Brook. And I think Stony Brook is one of those teams. They've been to the College World Series a couple of years back, if I'm correct. And I think that it's really going to see a testament to the depth of their lineup, because right after Stony Brook, they have FSU. And then later, about not even a whole month later, they're starting conference play with Houston. So they have a lot of tough opponents coming up, including Jacksonville on March 17th, who beat UF. So they're obviously a tough opponent. So it's just I think a lot of things can go wrong and a lot of things can go right for the Knights. And I think that right now they're on the track to do a lot of right.
Well, they've done what they needed to do to get off to a 7-0 start. And as you mentioned, those teams, it's interesting that so much good baseball in the state of Florida with the likes of Jacksonville and North Florida. So going to be an interesting week. Going to be a packed Jay Bergman Field on Wednesday, and hope for good UCF results. Evan Abramson, Central Florida Focus, we appreciate you joining us again. Take a deeper dive into the UCF baseball Knights. UCF's first road trip just up I-75 to Gainesville. That's Tuesday night, the 28th, at the University of Florida, number 2 in the country. Next night, March 1st, Gators come to Jay Bergman Field. First pitch, 6:30 p.m. Then another 3-game home swing. Stony Brook comes to town over the weekend.
All right, softball takes 3 of 5 at the Bama Bash, including a pair of tight losses against the number 10 ranked Crimson Tide. UCF is 6-6 on the season. Up next, a midweek road game at Florida Gulf Coast on March 1st, and then back home for the UCF Invitational, a weekend tourney featuring Providence and Florida Gulf Coast, 3 p.m. on Friday, 5 p.m. on Saturday, and 1:30 p.m. on Sunday at the UCF Softball Complex.
You need to get out there for that. Taking a look at your Knightline planner, men's tennis remains in Texas, February 27th match against Baylor before returning home on March 4th for a 1 p.m. match with Davidson College. Rowing, we haven't talked about rowing in a while. They're in the Metro Cup in Winter Park on Saturday, March 4th. Women's tennis also heads to the Lone Star State for a match at SMU on the 4th and UT Arlington on the 5th. And then men's soccer has another home spring schedule match with OCB, Orlando City's B team, 11 a.m. at the UCF Soccer Complex on the 5th.
And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports.
Number 19 ranked women's golf, 19th ranked, finishes tied for 9th at the Sugar Bowl Classic in New Orleans.
Congratulations to volleyball's Haley Scott, named the prestigious Order of the Pegasus at UCF, which recognizes academic excellence. Didn't I ask you one time what that was?
I was just going to ask you what goes into it, but you preempted that.
Where's Jason?
I don't know why this is number 46th ranked. I think he should be getting into the top 25 before you mentioned that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, I guess.
Number 46 ranked women's tennis beats Liberty in Florida Atlantic to improve to 10-1. And kudos to sophomore Natalie Serrano, American Women's Tennis Player of the Week.
Men's tennis drops 2 in Texas, losing at TCU and SMU to fall to 6-3. More accolades, though. Senior Chris Barris is the Americans Men's Tennis Player of the Week.
Men's golf finishes 3rd at the Haight in Ponte Vedra Beach.
And finally, no score between men's soccer and Orlando City's B team, OCB. As the spring slate gets underway, Orlando City opens its new stadium next Sunday. And Trace, you'll be there for the city's opener. UCF's own Haji Berry is on the Lions roster. The roster has changed a little bit, which is interesting.
They just traded Breck Shea.
I'm shocked at that one. That he was kind of a fan favorite.
Yeah, he was.
In a way. So, hey, next week we have a very special show. We've got the 100th show of Knightline.
When you created this thing a couple of years ago, did you think you'd get to 100?
I didn't think that we would
And that's not even fair. That's 100 of Knightline. There have been extras and nows and
Tons
all
of
these
them.
other live shows and call-in shows.
But of the actual...
It's probably closer to 150 different things.
It's more than that, I think. But of the actual Knightline podcast, which we kind of dropped the name podcast out of this sometimes because it is much more than that. Anyway, of the actual numbered podcast, it is episode number 100, and it's a big deal to me. So 100 episodes, I think, we need to do something a little bit special. I know that we are going to have a former member of the team. We are going to have some special guests, and it's going to be cool. It's not, it's nothing crazy, but it'll be exciting. It'll be a little bit different, and it'll be fun. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, tune in for the bloopers.
Well, you never know. Well, maybe I'll see what I got, and I think
you never save any of yours.
I've got some of mine, but they may all contain profanity. So
there'll be a parental warning on the bloopers.
And I normally don't like to do that. Maybe I'll beep it or something. Do the little beep, on my profanity. I don't know. I don't know how to do that.
I don't have any.
Anyway.
Right?
Profanity?
No, I don't use any.
No,
I don't make any bloopers.
Well, there's definitely bloopers and funny moments, but
no.
If I was to go back through all the shows and find, stuff, it would be...
Oh, you could spend a lot of time editing a comprehensive recap. I mean,
it would be fun to do that.
There's been a lot of guests, a lot of interviews.
Yeah, maybe I'll start putting out...
A lot of ups, a lot of downs.
Yeah, maybe there will be a new Knightline, like an extra type thing, but maybe we'll make a new one for the archives at some point. I don't know. But you can go back and listen to all those shows anytime you want on UCFKnightlinePodcast.com.
I think you should go back and listen to your first words.
I've listened to it a couple times, and I was a blabbering fool. Not that I'm not now, but anyway.
What's changed over
100 episodes? Yeah, it's gotten a little bit better. I do a lot better editing. But anyway, all right.
I used to listen.
Yeah,
I used to listen before all of this.
Well, it's wouldn't be what it is without you. I appreciate it. Anyway, this has been UCF Knightline 99, brought to you by the Dever team. I'm Andrew Phegley.
I'm Trace Trylko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
UCF, let's go Knights! UCF, charge on to the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the line. Victory is our cry. Be a CTO or Y. Tonight our Knights will